She came in with the roses like she'd found a shortcut to being 25 again. Red and white, a heavy bouquet, droplets still on the petals. She set them in the kitchen sink like it was a grocery bag, and reached for a glass. Yesterday, the cream ones I brought her sat on the buffet untouched. Those at least had a point. Anniversary of our first date. These from a friend. Roses in the sink, I said. Since when do friends send you those and you take them? Emily flashed that bright, airy smile people use when a waiter drops a plate. Don't start, Mike. You're squeezing me again. It's just a nice gesture. It's not just a gesture. I picked up the bouquet. Water running down my forearm into my watch band. It's a test. She leaned on the counter. You can't control who gives me what. You're right. I answered and dropped the roses in the trash can by the island. What you accept, that's on you. Silence. Golden morning, birds outside, the hum of the fridge. We stood 10 feet apart and it felt like a courtroom without the judge. Her eyes went flat. The smile stayed but lost the heat. You're dramatic, she threw. I'm awake. She grabbed her tote. I need to go. Big week prep for Saturday. Try not to turn it into a thing. I nodded once and stepped aside. She brushed past, perfume sharp as mint, front door closed, and the house thinned out like air on a hill. If I'd known where that was headed, I would have eaten breakfast at the job site and called it research. I run a small outfit, kitchens, decks, the bones of houses. Travis Heights keeps me busy with folks who love charm as long as the cabinets close. That morning, I checked measurements twice, then 3 times. Luis, my foreman, took one look at me and said, "You're measuring adjectives, boss." Make sure we order the hinges today, I told him. If she calls, I'm on a ladder. No problem. He tapped his clipboard. You good? Just minding my yard. We worked through lunch. By the time I got home, Emily's car was there, but the house felt like a showroom. Pillows at attention. Her laptop open on the dining table, spreadsheets, her company's logo on a tab. She glanced up, smile on a dimmer switch now. That was rude this morning, she said. The trash can. Seriously. Message was clearer than a vase. Oh, she made a little sound. So, we're doing cryptic now. We're doing boundaries. I set my tool bag in the mudroom. Keep it simple. I don't entertain gifts from people who want to be close to my wife. If you want them, say you want them. Don't ask me to clap. It was just roses, she repeated, more flat than bright. You turn everything into a trial. It turned itself, I replied. I'm not the one playing for a jury. 3 days followed where our house spoke only when we needed to find the salt. She was polite in a way that cut the corners off any real talk. I kept my voice even and my schedule tighter. I put a lock on the side gate and swapped the code on the shop. Simple adult moves. I didn't explain them. Friday, she came in late. I was fixing a hinge on the cabinet under the sink. She slid her heels off like she was sneaking them back in the box. A new smell hit first. Expensive men's cologne with the backbone of cedar. Not mine, not anyone I knew. Long day, she sang. Too light. Smells like someone else's day. I told the hinge. Don't be gross, she said, dropping her purse. I had to ride with Evan from the office. Travis blew a tire on Ben White. He couldn't pick up. Schedules got messy. Evan dropped me. He's a nice guy. Who's Evan? I straightened up and wiped my hands. She blinked at the floor. He's in analytics. We've worked together for what, 2 years? You met him at the holiday party. Never heard the name in 10 years, I replied. So, here's my simple question. Who are you choosing to ride with? Stop it, she snapped, then softer. Stop dramatizing. It's a car ride. You hear yourself. I heard a new cologne in my kitchen, I said, leaning on the counter. That's what I heard. God, she muttered. You make everything ugly. No, I told her. I take the bow off and read the label. She went to the bedroom. The door closed softly, like rehearsed. I stood there looking at the cream roses I'd brought 2 days ago. Still upright, still ignored. Saturday was her birthday. We'd planned a backyard thing. Low tables, lights I strung last month. Our neighbors from the block and her cousins who talked too loud about nothing. She wore a sky blue dress that made every woman compliment her on the color. She floated room to room, light on her feet, laughing at stories, setting down glaciers she never finished. She works a room the way I frame a wall. Exact, fast, confident. It's one of the things I used to admire without caution. I kept the grill going and the playlist from turning into elevator noise. Trent from 2 houses down leaned on the fence. A guy who thinks he's good at reading people because he once sold cars. She's glowing tonight, he said with a grin that had an angle. She's got an audience, I answered. Good for her, he said. You know how it is. I do, I told him. I also know a spotlight burns. At 5:42, a black sedan rolled up to the curb that has seen nothing fancier than a city truck. Too polished for our street. I watched a man step out. Tall gym-bred shoulders, shirt pressed like a brochure, the same cologne now with a name. He carried a gift bag with a velvet box peeking out. Made eye contact with the house like it owed him something. He took 3 steps toward the gate. I moved to meet him, the grass soft under my boots. We paused in that little strip between the world and my yard. Wrong house, I said. Emily, he asked, right? The voice of a guy who thinks everyone's happy to see him. I'm just dropping a gift. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now, let's get back to the story. You have 30 seconds to get back into that polished ride. I told him even or I will walk this bag through my door and ask Emily to explain it to her family. In front of them. He started to smile like we were bonding. He saw my face and shut it. He glanced past me to the open doors, the music, the clusters of people. Calculating, he nodded once like he'd remembered an appointment and turned. Sedan door closed. He drove off slow then faster. From the doorway, Emily had seen enough to understand the outline. Her glass tilted, then slipped. It hit the deck. Didn't shatter, just rolled. For the first time in the week, she looked afraid. Not guilty. Afraid of losing the script. I went inside, past the cousin arguing about brisket into the kitchen behind the swinging doors. She followed, eyes hot, voice low. What was that? She demanded, hands up. Are you kidding me? Friend of yours? I said, drying my hands on a towel. Smells familiar. You're being a bully. Friend doesn't lurk at the fence of a married woman's house with a velvet box, I replied. That's not how just coffee works. You're twisting, she said. We've had conversations at the gym. That's it. You're making a show. You try to turn my house into one. I told her new rule. You don't leave any door half open. If you want something, you say it. If not, you close it. No midfield. Don't tell me what to do. She said, chin up. I'm telling you what I will tolerate here, I answered. Pick one, close door or I close it for you, she scoffed. You're suffocating, breathing fresh air, I said and walked out. I let the grill occupy my hands while my head cooled. Around 6:15, I slipped to my pickup parked by the alley and sat there with the dash lights off. I wasn't hiding, I was deciding. The party hummed 30 feet away. I watched the light over the garage flicker. Something to fix later. A light tap on the passenger window. I unlocked it. Hannah slid in. Emily's younger sister. Straight shooter, sharp edges. Never liked me much because I never loved her drama. She wore jeans and a black top, hair in a quick knot, eyes taking inventory. You're about to swallow this whole thing. She said. Afraid I'll choke? I asked. She's lying to you, Hannah said, hands folded. No tremor. She's chasing the gym clown because he makes her feel new. She left the lane months ago and she's testing if you'll pretend not to see it. I'm not a pretender, I told her. I know, she said. That's why I'm here. Lesson time. I don't ask for theater. Not theater. She countered mask removal. Quick and public. She's writing a story where you're controlling. Flip that page. I looked at the house at the windows breathing music. What do you have in mind? Walk in with me, she said. Hold my hand. I'll do the rest. I don't need to play games with your sister, I said. This isn't a game, Hannah replied. Consider it a mirror. I exhaled. Check the side mirror out of habit. Do it, I said. But short. We walked in together. She took my hand and I didn't resist. People moved aside in that subconscious way crowds do when they smell a new scene. Hannah stopped dead center and kissed me on the mouth. Slow, deliberate, not romantic, surgical. The room froze. A corpse popped somewhere in the wrong timing. Emily's glass slipped again. This time it cracked. Eyes everywhere. Hannah let go of my hand and spoke up. Calm as a nurse. Since we're celebrating, maybe someone should ask Emily about her friend. Two cousins turned into statues. Trent looked like he wanted popcorn. Emily's face went white then red. You're disgusting. Emily hissed at her sister. You've always hated me. I've hated this. Hannah replied, still cool. This little show you're running. Mike's not your prop. Voices started, stopped. Party broke into pieces like ice. People exited in pairs. Some honest about it. Some pretending bathroom. 20 minutes later, the backyard looked like a crime scene with nobody. I thanked whoever still stood around and told them to get home safe. Happy. Emily spat in the kitchen once we were alone. No, I said I was happy last year. This is different. She just wanted attention. Emily said, stacking plates hard. She always wants attention. Then explain your attention, I answered. Explain the car at the fence. Explain the perfume you brought into my house. Stop twisting, she said, voice small and sharp. You're making it ugly. It was ugly when you accepted a velvet box and tried to bring it past our door, I replied. She pushed past me, slammed the fridge, and went to the bedroom. I let the quiet land. I texted Louise to shift Monday's start to 6 a.m. I moved some cash from our joint to the business account and left a neat note that said site costs will reconcile. No secrets, just clarity. Morning after she made pancakes like a truce flag. She never cooks. Plate slid in front of me. Blueberries, a little smile she wore in college. Truce, she asked. We were both out of line. Nice try, I said, not picking up the fork. Mike, it was a cheap shot. Hannah's stunt was low. She kept going. She's jealous. She always was. You're talking about your sister because you don't want to talk about you. I answered. The stunt was loud. The rest of this has been quiet but worse. I'm trying to keep the peace, she said. Peace takes truth, I told her. I stood, pushed the plate back gently. I've got a job across town. I'll be in a place where everyone's honest with their tools. Fine, she snapped. Run to your sauce. It's where you're happiest anyway. You're right about that, I said and left. I put in a full day Sunday at the workshop, even though nobody was waiting for anything. Me, some lumber, coffee that went cold, a city soundtrack through the open bay. Jess swung by. She's a designer I collaborate with. Practical low voice. You hung up, she observed. Reframed, I said. She nodded at the stack of cabinet doors. You good? I'm sleeping light and working heavy. Classic you, she said. Want a second set of eyes on Saturday's mess? I've got mine, I answered. Thanks. When I came home. Near dusk, I pulled up to our curb and clipped the trash can with my bumper. It tipped, hit the street, lid flung open. I sighed, got out, crouched, started resetting the bags. A box slid out. Clean graphics. Early result, stamped in big letters. Multiac, empty sleeves inside. Not a movie moment, just cardboard and a date printed on the side from last week. I picked it up. Street lamp clicked on somewhere. A dog barked once and stopped. I carried the box inside, set it on the glass coffee table, and sat in the chair facing the door. I put my phone next to it, open to a set of screenshots Hannah had texted that afternoon while I was sanding. Pet names I'd never heard. Koi scheduling plan. Quick coffee. Times that matched the late nights Emily chalked up to planning sessions. I'd told Hannah not to send anything else. She sent exactly this and then a thumbs up. It wasn't a pile. It was enough. The lock turned. Emily stepped in, keys clinking against the bowl. She saw me. She saw the box. She looked down at the doormat too long and kicked it straight. "What is that?" she asked, eyelids barely moving. "Trash," I said. "Yours." It rolled out. "Thought you'd want it back." She inhaled once, tiny, like she was about to laugh. I was late. I panicked. "I didn't want to freak you out until I knew." "You were late on telling me the truth," I replied. "That box didn't walk itself to our curb." "You're making a scene out of nothing," she tried. It was one moment. I got scared. "That's all." "What are you scared of?" I asked. "The truth or the calendar?" "Don't." She glanced at the phone. "What is that?" "Your sister's screenshots," I said. "She thinks you've built a second little life at odd hours." I didn't ask for proof. I told her not to send more. She sent enough. "Hannah is obsessed with sabotaging me," Emily said quickly. "She copies everything I do. She's meddling." "She didn't buy roses," I answered. "She didn't show up at our fence in a black sedan with a velvet box. She didn't fill our house with somebody else's cologne. It was nothing." She said, "It's coffee. It's talk. He's just outgoing." I needed a lift. "You're paranoid." My voice stayed level. "Look at the box." She stared at the table like it might bite. "I don't owe you a schedule of my body." "You owe me honesty," I replied. "You want privacy. You get a studio apartment and privacy all day long. Here, we don't run side channels." "You're being cruel," she whispered. "I'm being exact," I answered. "I'll ask once. Are you sure there's nothing to discuss?" Her shoulders fell a fraction. She stared at the floorboards that I refinished last spring. When she finally spoke, it was barely audible. "I don't know." That sentence landed like a red stamp on a form. I stood cross to the hall closet, brought out the small suitcase I'd packed for her that morning when I'd gone home for a wrench I didn't need. Basic clothes, toiletries, her backup charger. Next, the folder for my briefcase. Clean pages. Not legal threats, just decisions, temporary separation of accounts, keys arrangements, a note on the spare room, the schedule for me to be at the house to move my tools if needed. Adult logistics, she watched, eyes flicking between my hands and the front door. "What are you doing?" It wasn't a scream. It was quieter, more real. "I'm removing double-speak from my house," I said. "I'm filing these with what needs filing. Screenshots, dates, this box. They're enough for me." I'm not yelling. "I'm closing the door you left open." "Please don't do this over one mistake," she said, stepping forward, palms up. "Please, Mike, don't blow up our life because I was stupid once. Stop trying to bargain with the math." I told her you picked a game with no ref. "I'm calling time." Tears now fast like she hoped speed would change the outcome. "I love you. I just got lost." The attention felt good. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think." I answered and walked to the front door. I opened it. The night breathed in. "You chose this." She shook her head. "Don't do this. Please. We can fix it. I'll block him. I'll delete everything. I'll do whatever." "Then you'll do it from your sister's place." I said, "I won't be the man in the audience while you test your lines." "You're punishing me." "I'm protecting myself." I said, that's different. I don't have anywhere to go. You have people. I answered. Call them. She took one step toward the hall like she might run to the bedroom and locked the door. I set the suitcase by the threshold and held the papers out. Take the bag, I said. Take the folder. I'm not arguing in circles. We're done for now. If I see that sedan on this block again, I'll call a tow because we follow neighborhood rules here. Her mouth opened, closed. She took the papers. She took the suitcase. She stood there with everything she tried to keep in both hands. This is cruel. She tried again. It's clean. I corrected. She went out without shoes, then stepped back in, grabbed the flats by the door, and left again. I shut the door before she could turn around with one more pivot. I wasn't slamming anything. I was ending it. I locked it, slid the chain out of habit, then took it off again because I didn't like the visual. I put the box back in the trash, washed my hands because there was cardboard dust on them, and sat down to call Louise. Everything on for 6, I told him, and pushed next week's bid to Tuesday. I'm moving some stuff around. All good, he said. You sound tall. I got my shoes back, I replied. I slept on the couch because I didn't feel like smelling her shampoo on the pillow. Morning. I went for a long loop around the neighborhood with a thermos in my list. Came back, changed codes on the shop again because I could. Texted Hannah one sentence. You were right. She answered, make it stick. By noon, I had 3 text paragraphs from Emily and 2 voicemails. The format where every line starts with I and ends with please. I didn't answer any of it. That afternoon, I drove to the job site and kept my promises. To strangers because that's easy compared to keeping them to yourself. Word gets around fast in a neighborhood that pretends it doesn't gossip. Trent saw me on the sidewalk Monday and whistled through his teeth. You sure you want to make it public like that? He asked, walking his dog that hates everyone. You saw a man drive away when I said 30 seconds. I answered. That's public enough. Fair, he said. If you need anything, holler. I needed a fence, I told him. I've got one. At lunch, Jess texted a link to a rental listing. Small house, simple yard, clean kitchen. If you need a separate address for a while, she wrote. I drove by after work. The place felt like someone built it to be a reset button. I signed a short lease that night. No drama. When you do projects for a living, you learn to move. A day later, I moved my clothes, my guitar, my work boots, and a good skillet. Left the matching sets, and the decorative things that were never mine. Emily sent another string of apologetic messages early that week. Soft words, promises, a photo of the cream roses I'd brought. Now, finally, in a vase like that meant something. She used a lot of smiley faces that look like bandages. Can we meet for coffee? She wrote. No pressure. I want to talk. I get it now. Midterm. She didn't know I knew the term. I kept my line. No coffee. Here are the days I'll be at the old place to collect my tools. She tried a different tactic Thursday. Went big. A long voice note. Loads of warmth. Memories recited like a script. She offered to show up at my workshop with lunch just to sit. You always look good when you're working. I smiled at the shovel leaning on the wall and texted back, don't. Workshop is the honest place. I keep it that way. Friday, she came by the old house while I was swapping out a broken gate latch. Hannah was there in the driveway, arms crossed, watching like a referee who refuses to blow the whistle unless someone loses blood. You happy now? Emily shot at her. No. Hannah answered. He is. Emily turned to me. Mike, please. I'm not moving the target, I told her. It's in the same spot. Respect. If you can't hit it, you don't shoot. I messed up, she pleaded, stepping closer. I got carried away. I wanted to feel wanted. It was stupid. I ended it. Then it's over for both of us. I answered. I don't do parallel tracks. Not in houses. Not in life. Hannah cut in, voice low. You wanted him to catch you so you could blame someone. He caught you and didn't play your part. Move along. Emily glared at her. Keep out. I'm in because you dragged me in. Hannah said, now I'm out. Mike, I'm leaving. Call me if you need anything. Go home. Emily stood there chewing on nothing, then left without saying goodbye. She hated losing the room more than anything else. My business didn't notice our split except in how much smoother I ran it. I picked up 2 new clients on South Congress, finished the kitchen on Monroe ahead of schedule. On Saturdays, I watched Longhorns on the Green Belt and ate tacos from a truck with no name. Simple. My phone got quiet, then loud in a different way. One evening, a month later, Jess stopped by the new place to look at a built-in idea. She brought a small plant like a friend, not a florist. We talked shop. We left it there. The point isn't replacing anyone fast. The point is living clean. Word filtered back by people who can't help themselves. Emily moved into a condo near her office. She changed gyms. The sedan guy got bored when there was no stage. Her team at work noticed she was distracted and moved a project off her desk. Her glow didn't survive fluorescent lights and no applause. I didn't clap. I didn't boo. I just built. The last time we spoke in person, it was outside the old house. Keys exchange. She handed me the extra garage opener and looked at me like the house was a person we were both disappointing. Do you ever think we could fix it? She asked, very small. No, I said, not unkind. I think we could. Pretend. You're good at pretending. I'm not. She nodded. I'm sorry. I believe you're sorry. I told her I also believe you like the attention more. She bit her lip. You don't have to punish me forever. There's no punishment. I said there's a boundary. There's a door you left open and the wind you didn't care about. I closed it. She looked down at the opener in her hand, then back at me. You didn't yell. That's worse. It's better, I answered. It's honest. She stepped back. Okay. Goodbye, Emily. I said, and took the opener. I walked to my truck. I didn't look back to see if she watched. The engine sounded like it always did, workmanlike. Steady. I drove across the bridge to my place where the lights come on. Exactly. When I flipped the switch, and the only perfume is sawdust and soap, I put the plant Jess brought on the window ledge. I sat on the porch with my boots off and called Louise to talk through Tuesday's load-in. That's the thing about boundaries. They're not walls, they're lines. You draw them once, you hold them, and life organizes itself around them. She wanted a show. I ran a crew. My last words to her weren't a monologue or a speech. When she texted weeks later saying, I miss us, I sent exactly 5 words. You miss the audience, not me. She didn't reply. These days, mornings are simple. Coffee, truck, site. Evenings, I run the loop or sit with a neighbor who minds his own business. I picked up an old motorcycle that needed love, and I give it that. Sundays, I read in the chair by the window that faces the street. And if a car too polished for this block slows, it keeps going. Respect is quiet. It's also obvious. I didn't win anything dramatic. I didn't lose either. I stepped out clean with my name intact and left her with what she was chasing. A mirror, a silence, and an empty box that says early result in large print. She wanted me to carry it for her. I didn't. That's the whole story. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story.